Okay, so today's video, the last issue video that I'm going to do this election, is on communication. And communication for me is how the Students' Union connects with students. Communication is important for a lot of reasons, but most importantly right now there's a serious lack of it. In large part, a lot of the reasons why students don't like our union can be blamed on poor communication. Without good communication by the union to students, students don't understand or know about the services that are offered to them. If they don't know or understand the services, they don't see the value in the union, and that's why they don't like it. Almost more importantly is the feedback side of communication, so how the union listens to students, not how it markets to them. And this is really important because if the union isn't listening to students, they don't know what students' priorities are, they don't know that they're on the right track, doing a good job, and they're not getting students' feedback on major issues. The first candidate I'm going to talk about today is Annie, and Annie has an entire pillar of her platform dedicated just to communication. The first thing she talks about is holding regular open forums, much like we do during the election, somewhere like the concourse or a major space, but monthly throughout the year to engage students. And while I think this is a really good idea, to be honest, I don't think that students who don't engage currently with the union are really going to engage with an open forum. The second thing Annie talks about is doing online updates, posting finances, reports, what the union is doing, what its staff are doing, what their focuses are. And not only do I think this is a really good idea, but my big question is why the union doesn't already do this. Why isn't there reporting? Why don't we know what's going on? If students understand where their money is being spent and what resources are being utilized, then they'll have a greater appreciation for what the Students' Union provides for them. My big issue with Annie's communication pillar is that she says the Students' Union is building an app, which is untrue. The Students' Union is not building an app. In fact, it's actually a really sore topic because they built an app like 3 years ago and spent $50,000 on it, and that shit was buried. And someone is going to send me a real angry text for bringing that back up. But the Students' Union is not building an app. The university is currently building an app, and there are full-time staff members from the union advising them, but the union itself is not building an app, and I don't think after the last $60,000 we wasted on one, we really should ever again. Next up, we have Chris. And this is not only, in my opinion, one of the strongest platforms when it comes to communication, but is probably one of the strongest pieces of Chris's platform. The first thing he talks about is an open budgeting process. And one of his ideas is to allow students to contribute ideas during the budgeting process for things they want to see. I think this is really cool because students can then submit initiatives that they want taken into consideration. Chris goes on to talk about how Wilusu finances should be completely open and transparent. And I have to say, finally someone is doing this. I don't know why they aren't already. Every student here is an owner of the Students' Union. They should all already have access to the finances. My question though is, by making all finances available, are you talking about publishing the line by line? Because people are going to take that out of context. Or are you talking about publishing an ends-based budget? Because let's be serious, man, the ends-based budget doesn't tell you shit. It tells us we spent 30% of an unknown number on advocacy this year. The hell does that mean? One of the other initiatives Chris talks about is the Fix My Laurier campaign and growing this. If you don't know what it is, search it on Facebook because it's basically a forum for you to bitch about shit you don't like about at Laurier. Which you all do anyways. I do it, obviously. So why not do it in some form of constructive manner? He goes on to talk about comprehensive student surveys, and this touches on the point of how you get feedback from students to the organization based off what they're doing. The next thing Chris talks about is very similar to Annie, and it's reporting to students. Letting students know what the organization is doing, its finances, and again, one of those things that is stupidly obvious, and why aren't we already doing it? Third up is Jen, and Jen has nothing in her platform on communication with students. And this to me is a serious problem. If you don't know that the union has a communication problem with students, we have a really big problem here. This is a serious issue that you've completely neglected in your platform. Fourth up tonight is Caleb. And Caleb has one and only one initiative to improve communication, and that's to better utilize the LCD TVs on campus. Man, no one looks at those or gives a crap. I don't really think that's going to fix the disconnect between the union and students. You need something a lot bigger than putting posters on TVs. More importantly, I remember when those TVs got bought and the entire school bitched about how much money we wasted putting in TVs. Last candidate tonight is Danny, and the first thing Danny talks about is putting his office in the concourse. Now, I know you've said this is a largely symbolic gesture, but even still, I don't really get it. Danny goes on to talk about working with clubs to understand their needs. Isn't this why you have a VP of campus clubs? So that they can communicate things? Danny talks a lot about breaking down communication barriers with students and devotes a good portion of this pillar of his platform to it, but he never actually talks about how he's going to break down communication. He doesn't introduce an initiative, he just talks about how it's a problem. The last part of Danny's communication platform talks about improving the exposure of WLUSIP. Now, whether I think this is important or not, it's not Students' Union, and it's not going to help the Students' Union communicate better with students, mostly because the court bashes the shit out of them all the time. So, I mean, you might want to try and reduce their exposure, if anything. Alright, and wrapping up this last issue, again, I think the strongest platform on communication is without a doubt Chris. My last video is going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be a wrap-up of the entire campaign the day before voting starts. So don't forget to check that out. More importantly, don't forget that voting is all day Monday starting at 8 a.m. and all day Tuesday.